In the far edge of the galaxy, a small human exploration ship moved slowly between the silent stars. Its name was Auroradon, a ship built for research, not for war. The crew of 12 people had been traveling for months, mapping dead systems where no one had gone for centuries. Captain Elias stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the cold dark planet below. The planet had no life, no cities, no signs of activity, yet their scanners picked up a strange energy pulse coming from deep underground. "This is unusual," said Dr. Mira, the ship's science officer. "The energy signature is old, very old, but still active." The crew decided to land. Ash clouds filled the thin atmosphere as their ship touched the barren surface. They wore thick suits, their boots sinking in the black dust as they stepped out. The wind was silent, the sky almost red, and broken stone structures rose like ancient bones. They followed the signal, each step echoing in the lifeless valley, the heart of the ruins. They found a massive metallic door buried under layers of rock. It was carved with unknown alien symbols, some of them glowing faintly like dying embers. "What is this place?" whispered Elias. He felt a strange pressure in the air, as if something was breathing beneath the ground. The team started cutting through the stone, clearing the door after hours of work. When it finally opened with a deep, hollow sound, a dark tunnel stretched before them. The walls were covered with lines of symbols and fading lights. The temperature dropped as they walked inside, their flashlights barely touching the endless corridor. The tunnel led to a gigantic chamber, and there it was, something they had never seen before. A structure the size of a mountain lay sleeping in the darkness. It was shaped like a beast, a dragon made of metal and unknown alloys, its wings folded, its surface cracked with time. Eyes like black crystals were shut, but every few seconds a faint red glow flickered inside. The humans stood frozen. Dr. Mira spoke softly. "It's a weapon, or something more." They scanned it, but the data made no sense. No known alien race had built this, at least not in the last 1,000 years. Captain Elias touched the smooth cold metal with his gloved hand, and at that moment, the ground shook. A deep vibration filled the air, like a heartbeat. The dragon's eye opened halfway, a thin red slit staring at them. All alarms on their suits went red. The energy in the chamber rose sharply. The team stepped back, weapons ready, but the dragon did not attack. It only watched. Silent and still. Then, something unexpected happened. A signal burst from the dragon, shooting up through the rocks and into space. The ship in orbit received it automatically, a message they could not decode, filled with strange coordinates and symbols. "Send it to Earth," Elias ordered, trying to stay calm. But as the message traveled home, far across the stars, other ears heard it too. In distant alien empires, old sensors woke from sleep. Councils gathered, messages were sent in panic. "The dragon has awakened," whispered an old alien leader whose skin looked like stone. He had heard the stories. Long ago, this weapon had ended wars, destroyed fleets, and then vanished, hidden in a forgotten system. And now, humans had found it, on the planet. The team continued scanning, fear mixing with wonder. Dr. Mira noticed the ancient walls around the dragon. They were covered with warnings in many alien languages. Some said, "Do not wake it." Others said, "It serves no one. It obeys no master." The air grew heavier, their lights flickered, and a low hum began to echo from the dragon's chest. Like a beast breathing after a long sleep. Captain Elias gave the order to retreat. They left sensors behind, locking the chamber as they rushed to their ship. But as they ascended into orbit, the planet's sky shimmered with a faint red wave, like a heartbeat reaching for the stars. On the bridge, the crew watched as unknown energy flowed from the surface into space. "This is no ordinary discovery," said Elias quietly. "This is a trap or a gift, I don't know which." The message to Earth was already gone, and they could not take it back. They did not know that at that same moment, across the galaxy, fleets began to move. Secret orders were given in alien tongues. Find the humans. Destroy the dragon before it wakes. The Auroradon set a course for the edge of the system, but inside the captain's mind, a question burned. Had they just saved humanity, or doomed it? As the ship vanished into the dark, the dragon opened its second eye completely. Both glowed deep red, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the ancient weapon moved its claws slightly, as if testing its own strength. The dust around it lifted in a silent storm. The forgotten dragon was no longer forgotten. And somewhere deep inside its ancient mind, a single thought formed. Who woke me? Far away from the cold planet where the dragon had opened its eyes, the signal it sent was already spreading like fire in the wind. In the deep void between stars, ancient satellites that had been silent for centuries suddenly flickered to life. They were not human machines. They belonged to old empires that had once ruled this part of space. These satellites carried one message, a message that made their masters tremble. The dragon stirs. On the peaceful trade routes of the Valkyrie Dominion, high lords paused their councils and whispered dark legends. On the military stations of the Kraith Empire, admirals cancelled all leave and prepared their fleets. In the hidden cities of the Zarin coalition, spies rushed to their masters with old reports. The weapon of extinction had been found again. The humans were the ones who woke it. The galaxy remembered the dragon. It was not a myth. It was a warship beyond imagination, built by a race that no longer existed. It had turned against its makers and burned their stars until only ash remained. That empire was gone, erased by its own creation, and the dragon had been sealed away where no one dared to look. Until now. While the galaxy stirred in fear, the Aurora Dawn floated in silent orbit above the dead world. The human crew did not know the storm they had started. They were still trying to understand what they had found. The chamber below had been sealed again, but sensors showed the dragon was not sleeping anymore. It was moving slowly, like a mountain breathing beneath the rock. "Captain, the energy readings are climbing," Dr. Mira said, her voice tense. "Something inside it is charging. We don't know how strong it can get." Captain Elias looked at the screen showing the faint red glow beneath the surface. His hands gripped the chair armrests tightly. "We are not going back down there," he said. "Not yet. Send everything we have to Earth. They need to know." But Earth was far, and signals took time. The message was still traveling when the first watchers arrived. In the cold shadows of the outer system, a ship appeared. No lights, no beacon, only a black shape sliding through the void. It was not alone. Soon 3 more joined it, then 7, forming a silent fleet. They did not announce themselves. They only watched the human ship from the dark. "Captain, we are not alone," said the navigator softly as new dots appeared on the radar. They had no transponders, no identification. The crew felt a chill. "Raise shields," Elias ordered. "No communication yet. Let's see what they want." But the unknown fleet sent no greeting. It only moved closer, slow and patient, like predators waiting for the right moment. In the galaxy, whispers grew louder. Messages rushed through secret channels. Councils argued. "Destroy it before it bonds with them," said one voice. "If humans control it, we are finished," said another. But others feared the dragon more than humanity. They wanted it sealed again, not destroyed. "Wake it and we all die," an ancient seer warned. "It does not serve. It devours." Meanwhile, inside the Aurora Dawn, strange things began to happen. The lights flickered for no reason. Doors opened and closed by themselves. One engineer swore he heard a sound like a distant heartbeat coming from the communication deck. Another said he saw red light moving in the reflection of his helmet, though no one was behind him. Dr. Mira checked the systems. "It's coming from that thing below," she said. "It's reaching out to us, testing our machines." At night, when most of the crew tried to sleep, Captain Elias stood alone in the observation deck watching the silent planet. "Why did it wake up?" he whispered to himself. "Why now? Why us?" No answer came. Only the stars stared back. On the 4th day after the signal was sent, a message finally arrived, not from Earth, but from somewhere else. It was encrypted in an unknown language and burned through their receivers like a scream. "What is that?" the communication officer asked. Elias listened. It was not a call. It was a warning. They could not translate it fully, but one word kept repeating: "Leave." The captain gathered his crew. "We are sitting in the middle of something ancient and dangerous," he said. "Until Earth responds, we stay alert. No landing, no contact." But as he spoke, the floor trembled very lightly, like a giant had taken a distant step. Sensors on the table blinked. The dragon was moving again. Beneath the rock, its head lifted slightly, its claws scraped against the old walls, and a low pulse of energy shot into the void. This time, the unknown fleet did not wait. They turned toward the humans, forming a half-circle around them. Power signatures spiked on their ships. Weapons were charging. The first shadow message reached their bridge. "Human vessel, leave this system or be erased. The dragon is forbidden." Elias stared at the message and felt a weight in his chest. They had no fleet, no backup, no way to fight. "If we leave now, will it follow?" Mira asked. The captain did not answer. His mind was full of questions. None of them had good answers. Below, the dragon's red eyes glowed faintly again, and somewhere in its deep ancient mind, It began to whisper not to the aliens, but to the humans. It was not words yet, only a feeling, like a voice behind the walls, a promise, or maybe a threat. The crew did not hear it clearly, but they felt it. The temperature dropped, their breath became mist in the cabin. "Captain," the navigator said with a shaking voice, "the fleet is locking weapons on us." Outside, the silent ships opened their dark wings, aiming energy lances toward the human vessel. Elias gave the order, "Prepare to jump out of here, but hold position until the last second." He did not know that leaving might be impossible. The dragon had already chosen them. It was awake now, and it was watching everything silently. In the darkness between stars, the whispers turned to orders. Armies were moving. Old enemies and old friends were changing sides for something far older than their wars. The humans had no idea how many eyes were on them, how many plans were forming, how much fear their discovery had spread. The forgotten dragon was no longer forgotten. It was a name spoken. Again in hidden halls, in fearful dreams, in battle plans that stretched across light years. And somewhere in the cold metal body beneath the ruins, a single eye opened wider and a deep voice echoed only to itself. Soon. The dead planet turned slowly beneath the human ship as tension grew in the dark system. The unknown fleet that had arrived now surrounded the Aurora Dawn like wolves circling a lone traveler. There were 12 enemy ships, black and sharp like knives, their hulls carrying no names or flags. Captain Elias stood on the bridge, watching them close the gap inch by inch. "They are not answering our hails," the communication officer whispered. The air felt heavy, the silence almost alive. Doctor. Mira studied the readings from below. The dragon's energy levels were spiking again, strange pulses climbing through the crust of the planet. "Captain," she said, her voice low, "I think it knows they are here." Before Elias could answer, the first shot was fired. A thin beam of blue light shot past their hull, missing by a few meters. It was not a warning shot. It was a message. Leave or die. The crew felt the ship shudder as shields absorbed the second strike. "Return fire?" asked the tactical officer. Elias shook his head. "No, we are not here for war. Prepare to break orbit." But as they turned the ship, all 12 alien vessels locked their weapons and charged at once. "They are going to tear us apart," said the navigator, panic in his voice. The human ship was fast but weak, made for exploration not combat. They had no chance in open battle. Sirens wailed as the first barrage hit. The hull groaned, lights flickered, sparks jumped from a panel. The crew fought to stabilize the ship when the ground beneath them cracked open. The planet roared. A massive tremor shook the surface, and a red glow burst through the cracks like a river of fire. "What now?" Mira gasped on the bridge screen. A shadow began to rise from the planet's core. Metal wings unfolded, each the size of a city tower, head lifted, horns glinting in the dying light. The dragon was no longer sleeping. Its 2 crimson eyes opened fully, and the chamber that had held it for ages collapsed as the beast of steel and unknown alloys pushed itself free. For a moment, the entire fleet stopped firing. Even the alien ships held their breath as the ancient warship hovered above the ground like a mountain taking flight. "It's moving," whispered one of the crew. The dragon turned its head slowly toward the stars, scanning the space around it. Then it looked at the alien fleet that threatened the humans. Red light flickered along its spine, each segment glowing brighter until it looked like a living forge. The aliens panicked. Some tried to open fire on it, others tried to run. It was too late. The dragon opened its mouth, and a beam of red energy shot out so wide it cut through 3 ships in a single breath. No shields, no armor survived. The ships broke apart like glass. Elias gripped the chair. "Is it defending us?" he muttered. The dragon moved again, faster than anything that size should move. It spread its wings, and from them dozens of sharp streaks of light fired like spears, tearing the rest of the fleet apart. One by one, the alien ships vanished in silent explosions, their debris scattering across the void. The humans did nothing. They only watched in silence, hearts pounding, as the sky turned red with the reflection of the weapon's fury. In less than a minute, the fleet was gone. Not a single enemy survived. The only sound on the bridge was the faint hum of the dragon now floating in front of them, its colossal shadow covering their ship. It turned its head slowly, and for the first time, its voice filled the air. It was not sound as they knew it. It was vibration, metal scraping against the soul. "Who woke me?" The crew froze. Some covered their ears though the sound came from no speaker. It was inside their bones. Captain Elias stepped forward, his throat dry. "We found you by accident," he said quietly. "We did not mean to wake you." The dragon stared at him, its red eyes narrowing. Humans, it said, the word strange on its tongue, as if tasting it for the first time. Not makers, not slaves, not enemies? The crew looked at each other. Doctor. Mira whispered. It understands us. The dragon's gaze turned to the ruined ships drifting in silence. They came to kill you. They feared I would serve you. The metal beast lowered its massive head closer to the Aurora Dawn. For a moment the crew thought it would strike, but it only spoke again. You sent my call, it said. It has gone to the stars, now they will come, all of them. Elias felt a cold weight in his chest. What are you? He asked. The dragon's wings shifted, scattering dust like a storm. I was the last weapon of the First Lords. I was made to end empires. I was betrayed. I slept, and now I am awake. The humans stood in silence. They had no orders, no plan for something like this. The dragon's red eyes blinked once, and the glow dimmed a little. You are small, it said. But you woke me. That makes you mine. Before anyone could answer, the dragon's massive claws moved, gently pushing their damaged ship upright. The enemy wreckage burned in the distance like dying stars. The system was quiet again but no longer empty. The crew knew the signal had gone too far. Now the galaxy would come. Elias sent a priority message to Earth. We are alive. The weapon is real. IT has destroyed the enemy fleet. IT is not fully hostile. But it is awake. As the message left the system, the dragon began to fold its wings again. Its body repairing the scars of age on its own. Sparks ran along its spine like rivers of light. IT spoke one last time before turning back to the planet. Stay or flee. The storm is coming. The stars will not be kind. Then it sank slowly toward the surface, half buried in smoke and ash, watching them like a sleeping predator that never truly sleeps. On the Aurora Dawn, no one spoke for a long time. The crew only stared at the empty space where 12 enemy ships had once stood, and wondered what kind of power they had just unleashed. The dead system had become a place of whispers and fear as the human ship Aurora Dawn remained in orbit above the scarred planet where the dragon now rested. The alien fleet that had attacked them was gone, reduced to drifting debris by the ancient weapon's fury. Yet there was no peace on the human ship. Captain Elias knew that destroying a dozen warships in minutes would echo across the galaxy like a scream. They were no longer just explorers. They had become the center of something far greater than they could control. Messages kept coming from Earth, fragmented and urgent. They wanted details, scans, proof. Earth's leaders argued among themselves. Keep the dragon, study it, or destroy it before it turned against them. Some saw it as the key to power, others as a threat to all humanity. Dr. Mira worked day and night, analyzing the energy readings from the surface. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, her voice thin with worry. Captain, she said one morning, it is not only repairing itself. IT is growing, strengthening. Faster than anything I have ever seen. IT is using resources from the planet itself. Elias listened in silence. His crew was restless. Some wanted to leave and never return. Others whispered that this was humanity's chance to rise above the alien powers that had long considered Earth weak. 3 days after the battle, a new message arrived, this time from an alien council far beyond the nearest stars. They offered a meeting, a chance to talk about the dragon, but their words dripped with warning. You have touched what should never be touched. Stand down or face the consequences. While Earth debated, spies were already moving. A group of alien operatives disguised as traders entered the outer belt of the system with a single goal: sabotage. They planned to plant charges on the planet and collapse the chamber, burying the dragon before it could fully awaken. Meanwhile, strange things kept happening aboard the Aurora Dawn. Doors unlocked on their own, lights flickered, and machines that had been damaged in the attack repaired themselves overnight without human hands touching. Then one engineer swore he saw a pattern of glowing lines on the ship's hull, lines that looked exactly like the red markings on the dragon's wings. Dr. Myra's scanners confirmed it. The dragon was linking to their systems, changing them, leaving a mark. Captain Elias called a meeting in the main hall. The crew gathered, tense and divided. We cannot control that thing, said Lieutenant Cade, fists clenched. It chose to save us, but what happens when it chooses not to? Others disagreed. It could protect Earth, said the navigator. You saw what it did to those ships, and no empire could stand against that. Elias remained silent for a long moment. It has not attacked us, he finally said. It has not demanded anything. But I feel it watching. Every step we take, every word we say, it knows. That night, without warning, the dragon moved again. From the planet's surface it rose slowly, its massive wings cutting through the thin clouds. It hovered near their ship, silent, massive, its red eyes glowing like twin stars. The crew held their breath. Then a low voice filled the bridge. You send your words to your world. They argue. They fear. They want to chain me. The words came in broken human language, but the meaning was clear. The dragon was listening, and it was not pleased. Why did you save us? Elias asked quietly. The dragon tilted its head, emotion almost curious. I remember chains, I remember betrayal. You are not them. You woke me when others came to kill you. I chose you. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Chose? Mira whispered. What does that mean? The dragon turned its gaze toward the distant stars, where new signals were already forming fleets. It means you are under my wing now, it said. Others will come, they always come. Then it lowered its head, a gesture that felt both like a warning and a promise. Tell your world, if they try to break me, I will burn their sky. If they stand with me, I will burn their enemies. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared. The alien saboteurs had made their move. Small ships burst from the shadows of nearby asteroids, racing toward the planet. They carried explosives, their engines hot and desperate. They're trying to destroy it, shouted Cade. The humans scrambled to intercept, but their ship was too damaged and too slow. The saboteurs were seconds from entering the atmosphere when the dragon moved. Its wings flared wide, and with a single burst of red light, every enemy craft disintegrated into dust. Not even debris remained. The explosion lit the sky for a heartbeat, then vanished as if swallowed by the void. The dragon turned back to the Aurora Dawn. Do you see now? It said. They will not stop. Captain Elias stood frozen. His heart pounded as he realized something terrible. The dragon had not asked for their orders. It had acted on its own. And yet, it had saved them again. It's protecting us, Mira whispered. Or binding us, Cade replied through clenched teeth. The dragon began to descend once more, its claws digging into the black soil, its body folding into the cracked ground like a sleeping volcano. But its eyes remained open, staring at the human ship like a predator waiting for its prey to understand the rules of the hunt. That night, Earth sent a final encrypted order. Hold position, do not engage the weapon, do not provoke it. Further instructions will come. But the crew of the Aurora Dawn knew something Earth did not. The dragon had already made its choice. It had chosen humanity, not because they were strong, but because they were weak enough to use it. It would not wait for permission. It would not kneel. It had found a new sky to fly under, and now it was only a matter of time. Before the galaxy came to tear that sky apart, as the red glow faded from the planet, Captain Elias stared out at the stars, his voice barely a whisper. Have we found an ally, or forged our own doom? The signal had already crossed half the galaxy when the first council chambers began to shake with fear. In the golden halls of the Valkyrie Dominion, ancient rulers gathered around a burning map of stars. They spoke in low voices, their faces pale. The dragon is awake, one said. The humans have touched it, another whispered. Some wanted to send gifts, to beg for alliance. Others demanded war before the humans could control the weapon. In the cold war rooms of the Kraith Empire, fleets were already preparing. Thousands of warships were fueled, soldiers armed, orders sealed. Their emperor stared at a dark screen where the red eyes of the dragon glowed like twin suns. This is the end of balance, he said. If Earth commands that beast, none of us will survive. Across the stars, in secret tunnels of the Zarin coalition, spies sent coded warnings to their agents. Watch the humans, break their ties, or cut their world from the sky before it is too late. While alien powers plotted and whispered, Earth was still arguing. No one on the homeworld had seen the dragon with their own eyes. They only had the broken transmissions from the Aurora Dawn, fragments of battle footage showing a shadow with wings tearing through warships like paper. Some politicians wanted to seize it, to bring it to Earth and crown it as humanity's protector. Others demanded it be destroyed, even if it meant losing the crew sent to find it. We have been weak too long, said one general in a dark room under the United Earth Defense Council. With that thing, we will never bow again. But a scientist in the same room whispered back, or we will be the first it destroys. Meanwhile, on the edge of the dead world, the dragon was no longer silent. It had begun to reshape the ruins around it, pulling metals from the crust, melting ancient stone into smooth black towers. The Aurora Dawn floated nearby, its crew watching helplessly as the landscape changed day by day. It is building something, Dr. Mira said quietly, eyes fixed on the scanners. Or repairing, answered Captain Elias. His crew was tired, their nerves thin. Some wanted to return home, others feared leaving. Would only bring the war to Earth faster. Strange signals kept echoing through their ship, soft pulses of red light, whispers in the metal that no human ear could truly hear. But they felt it in their dreams. Some woke sweating in the night, hearing the sound of wings beating in their minds. Lieutenant Cade grew more restless by the hour. "It is inside our systems," he told the captain. "It is changing our ship just like it is changing that planet." He was not wrong. The hull had developed strange marks like scales, the engines hummed with new strength no engineer could explain, and their communication array now reached farther than it ever had before. "Maybe it is helping us," said the navigator with a nervous laugh. Cade glared at him. "Weapons that help without asking are never free." The crew held a vote. They decided to stay until Earth sent direct orders, but the vote was close, almost broken in half. That night the dragon rose again, its wings stretching wide across the horizon. IT spoke to them, not through their radios but through the very walls of their ship. "More are coming," it said, its voice deep as a collapsing star. "I feel their engines across the void. They come for me. They come for you." Captain Elias stepped forward. "Why are you warning us?" The dragon turned its head slowly. "Because you woke me, and because the stars have forgotten fear. They must remember." Its red eyes glowed brighter, and lines of fire ran across its body like rivers of blood. "You call yourselves small, but you carry the spark. They will try to crush you before you grow. I can stop them." Elias felt a cold sweat on his neck. "And what will you want in return?" The dragon's metal jaw opened slightly, revealing the light of a burning core. "I want war," it said simply. "I was made for it, I was born in it, I have no other purpose." The words echoed through the bridge like thunder. Doctor. Mira stared at the readings on her screen. The dragon's power was climbing again, faster and faster, like a heart preparing for battle. "Captain, if this continues, it will outmatch everything we know," she whispered. "It already has," Elias replied. The next morning, their sensors caught something new, hundreds of small signals approaching from deep space. They were not warships, not yet, but scouts, spies, and messengers carrying news of the dragon to every empire in the spiral arms. The galaxy was awake now, and it did not sleep with peace in mind. On distant worlds, children heard old stories again, stories their grandparents had buried, stories of the dragon that burned the first lords and left their worlds in ashes. In marketplaces, merchants closed early. In military stations, weapons were checked twice. In royal courts, alliances shifted like shadows under fire. The name of the dragon became a warning, a curse, a prayer. And Earth, once ignored and mocked as a small planet with no voice, was now the center of every eye. Some saw it as a rising power, others saw it as the seed of the next great extinction. On the Auroradon, the crew felt the pressure closing in. "Captain," Cade said, "we are sitting on a bomb waiting to explode. The longer we stay, the bigger the target on our backs." But even as he spoke, the dragon's shadow passed over their ship. IT had moved again, circling them like a silent guardian or a patient hunter. "You will decide soon," the dragon rumbled. "Fight with me or against me. The stars do not wait." Elias stood in silence, staring at the endless black outside. His hands tightened on the rail. He knew Earth would send more ships. They would come to study, to bargain, to threaten. But he also knew something else. None of them would arrive before the storm began. The galaxy could no longer pretend to be calm as the news of the dragon spread like a storm through every empire and every council. Earth was receiving threats, promises, and warnings all at once. Some alien nations offered to form alliances if humanity would hand over the dragon peacefully. Others spoke of war fleets already gathering to crush both the weapon and its new human keepers. But in the heart of the Great Galactic Council, a secret plan was already written on cold metal tablets. They invited Earth to a peace summit, a meeting to discuss the future of the dragon and the balance of power. They sent golden words and shining messengers to make it look like friendship, but behind closed doors they whispered their true plan. The humans would come to talk, and while they were busy speaking of peace, a hidden fleet would strike the dead world where the dragon rested, using weapons designed to bury it forever. IT was a trap dressed as diplomacy. The message reached Earth with the seal of the Council, and the United Earth Defense Council held long meetings in silent rooms. Some believed the offer was real, a chance to avoid war. Others smelled the danger but feared refusing would unite the alien powers even faster. In the end, they chose to go. They sent a small group of diplomats and military advisors to represent Earth, and they ordered the Auroradon to stay in the system, observe the dragon, and wait for further commands. Captain Elias obeyed. but unease grew like a shadow. On his crew, Lieutenant Cade paced the hallways at night, muttering about betrayal. Dr. Mira kept her eyes on the scanners, her fingers trembling more each day. The dragon itself seemed restless. It no longer stayed buried. It rose often, its wings spreading wide as if smelling the stars for danger. "They gather," it said one night, its voice rolling through their ship like distant thunder. "They smile with knives behind their teeth." Elias looked at the massive beast outside and felt the cold truth in its words. "Can you stop them?" he asked. The dragon turned its head slowly, the red glow of its eyes reflecting on the ship's hull. "I can stop them all, but will your people let me?" On the day the Earth delegation reached the Grand Council station, the trap began. The counselors welcomed them with gold and music, long speeches about unity and safety. But in the shadows of a nearby star cluster, a fleet of 60 warships slipped from hyperspace, their hulls black, their orders sealed. Destroy the dragon, erase the humans guarding it, leave no witness. They approached the dead world in silence, their engines cold, their weapons primed. On the Aurora Dawn, alarms flared. "Multiple contacts incoming," shouted the navigator. "This is no scout force, this is an armada." Cade slammed his fist on the table. "This is the Council's peace. They sent us here to die." Elias felt the weight of the order from Earth. Hold position, do not provoke. But this was no longer about orders. "Raise shields," he commanded. "Get a message ready to Earth. They betrayed us." Before they could send it, the dragon moved. It rose from the planet like a storm made of metal, its body glowing with lines of fire. The 60 ships closed in, forming a wall of guns and missiles. Their leader sent a final demand. "Stand down, humans. You are trespassing in the name of the Council. This weapon will not rise again." The dragon laughed, not a sound of joy but a deep broken echo that shook the stars. "They come with lies," it said. "And you still wonder if I should sleep?" The human crew had no answer. The first barrage came like a rain of burning spears. Missiles streaked toward the planet, energy beams cut the void. The ground erupted in waves of fire where they struck. But the dragon did not fall. It opened its wings, and a shield of crimson light expanded outward, swallowing the blasts. The second wave came, stronger, faster, this time aimed at the Aurora Dawn. "Evasive maneuvers," shouted Elias. The ship spun, metal groaning, shields flashing. But before the third strike could land, the dragon unleashed its wrath. Bolts of burning red energy shot from its wings like arrows of a god. The first row of warships melted in seconds, their screams cut off before they could send warnings. The rest tried to scatter, but the dragon was already among them. Its claws tore through hulls as if they were paper. Its tail lashed out, leaving trails of fire in the cold vacuum. The sky turned red again, but this time the battle was bigger, louder, deadlier. The crew watched from their trembling bridge as entire squadrons vanished in bursts of light. "It's not fighting for us," Mira whispered. "It's fighting for itself." Yet every time an enemy ship turned its guns toward the humans, the dragon intercepted, shielding them without a word. The slaughter lasted minutes, not hours. When it was done, only debris floated where a fleet had once been. The dragon hovered among the wreckage, its glowing body reflecting on the shattered remains of the Council's betrayal. "This is your peace," it said. "This is their promise." Elias felt the old fear turning into something colder, understanding. The Council would never forgive this. Earth would now be dragged into a war it had not prepared for. He opened a channel to Earth and sent only 5 words. "The trap has failed. Fire." Back on the Council station, as the Earth diplomats sipped bitter wine and listened to soft music, secret messages arrived in hidden hands. The trap had been broken. The dragon had not only survived, it had destroyed their fleet. They stared at the humans in the hall with cold new eyes. The game had changed. On the dead world, the dragon lowered itself slowly, wings folding, smoke drifting from its armor. It looked at the Aurora Dawn and spoke once more. "They will not come as diplomats again. They will come as executioners. Are you ready, little world?" Elias had no answer. He only knew one thing now. The line had been crossed, and there was no going back. The galaxy burned in whispers before it burned in fire. News of the Council's failed trap spread faster than light itself. Some alien worlds cheered in secret, happy to see the powerful humbled. Others panicked, believing the dragon would soon come for them. Earth stood in the middle of this storm, silent but awake. For centuries humanity had been considered young, fragile, barely a footnote in the great games of the stars. But now every sensor and spyglass turned toward them, measuring their strength. planning their end on the dead world where the dragon rested. The Aurora Dawn floated like a watchful hawk above a volcano. Captain Elias had not slept in 3 days. Lieutenant Cade sharpened his plans instead of his knives, and Dr. Mira no longer trusted the stars. They were full of eyes that hated them. The dragon remained still for a while, its red eyes dim but never closed. "They will come again," it said in a voice like a cracking mountain. "Next time, they will not pretend peace. They will come with everything they have." Elias knew it was right. He sent messages to Earth, but replies came late and wrapped in politics. Some leaders wanted to flee, to abandon the dragon and beg for mercy. Others wanted to bind it with chains and use it as a threat against the galaxy. But the dragon did not wait for their decisions. One night, without warning, it rose into the sky and circled the dead world like a blood moon. "I am not your prisoner," it said to the empty stars. "I chose to sleep because I was tired of war. But war has come knocking again." Its voice carried far, bouncing off old satellites, creeping into alien relays. The council heard it. Their fleets moved faster in dark corners of the galaxy. A coalition was forming. Empires that had once hated each other now whispered alliances in the dark. All to destroy the weapon humans had woken. Ships vanished in deep space, colonies reported missing, strange signals played on human channels like distant roars. Earth finally made its choice. They called back their scattered fleets, armed their colonies, and sent reinforcements toward the dead world. A single message was broadcast to every human ship: "Do not lose the dragon. If it lives, we live." The dragon began to test its strength. It flew between moons, its wings cracking asteroids, its claws carving metal like soft clay. The crew of the Aurora Dawn followed it cautiously, trying to record its abilities. "This thing is not a ship," Mira whispered as the dragon passed their hull. "It's a living weapon, a thinking storm." Yet, the more they watched, the more questions grew. Where had it come from? Who built it? Why had it chosen to stay with them when it could simply fly away? The answer came slowly. In the ruins where they first found it, ancient scripts began to light again, revealing old words long buried. "The dragon does not serve a master, it serves balance." Cade read those words and frowned. Balance doesn't mean peace, it means war when war is needed. Soon, the first wave of true invasion arrived. 200 ships, painted with the marks of 5 alien empires, jumped into the system like wolves entering a frozen valley. They came in silence, their formation wide, their weapons ready. No warning, no talk, just the cold law of fear. "All hands to battle stations," Elias ordered. His ship was too small to fight, but it had to survive to send the message. War had truly begun. The dragon rose once more, its wings cutting the void, its glow now fierce and sharp. The fleet fired first. Missiles darkened the sky, beams carved the surface of the dead world, hoping to bury the creature before it could react. But the dragon moved like lightning. Split into a storm of red light, a form too fast for sensors to track. Its breath, if one could call it breath, turned into a long beam that sliced a battlecruiser in half. The crew on the Aurora Dawn watched with wide eyes as ships exploded one after another, their wreckage scattering like burning snow. But this time, the enemies had prepared. They brought gravity nets, pulse traps, weapons designed to freeze energy flows. They wrapped them around the dragon like chains of shadow. The beast roared, the sound breaking windows on the human ship. It thrashed, its tail smashing 3 cruisers, its wings sending a dozen more spinning into the void. But the chains held for a moment long enough for the enemy flagship to open a crack in space. A weapon unlike anything the humans had seen. A black hole began to form, its pull tearing the planet's crust, dragging the dragon toward it. "They're trying to erase it completely," shouted Mira. "If that thing collapses, it will destroy the whole system." Elias slammed his hand on the console. "Send the message to Earth, emergency extraction, we need Titan fleet now." The dragon, pulled toward the growing dark, turned its eyes to the humans. One eye glowed red, the other now deep silver. "You woke me," it said. "Will you stand with me, or will you watch me fall?" Cade stood from his chair. "Captain, if we leave it now, we are dead anyway. The council will not forgive us whether the dragon dies or lives." Elias made his choice. All power to the tractor beams. Latch onto it. Give it something to fight against. Their small ship pulled, its engines screaming, while the dragon spread its wings wide and unleashed a shockwave that cracked the gravity nets like glass. The black hole flickered, then twisted back upon the flagship that created it. The enemy fleet screamed in panic as their own weapon consumed them. One by one, their ships were crushed, dragged into the artificial rift, or ripped apart by the dragon's counterattack. When the sky cleared, only burning fragments drifted. The dragon landed slowly on the dead world again, smoke rising from its armor. It looked at the Aurora Dawn, its breath heavy, its body full of scars. "You have chosen," it said quietly. "From this moment, we are bound by war." Elias looked out at the stars, now no longer silent. They were full of shadows moving closer. He knew the real war had not even begun. The stars were no longer quiet as fleets began to move across the galaxy like storms breaking over a dark ocean. Words were useless now. The time for warnings had passed. The failed invasion had cost the Council 5 Empire's fleets, and their pride burned hotter than their losses. They swore the dragon would not survive a second time, and humanity, by standing beside it, had chosen its place in history, not as a bystander, but as the center of a war that would shape the future of every world. Captain Elias stood on the bridge of the Aurora Dawn, watching the data streams flow like rivers of fire. Earth had finally sent its answer. Titan fleet was on its way, 3 dreadnoughts and 24 cruisers, each one armed with weapons built for a war they had never wanted but could no longer avoid. The dragon rested below them, repairing itself slowly, its body marked with scars from the last battle. Sparks danced across its wings as if stars were trying to heal its wounds. "They will come again, and in greater numbers," it said, its voice carrying into their minds without sound. "And this time, they will burn everything between here and your home if they must." Dr. Mira studied the signals intercepting their channels. She saw new alliances forming. Races that had hated each other for centuries now shared resources and ships. All to destroy one thing: the humans, the dragon. The idea that something beyond their control had awakened and chosen not to kneel. The enemy fleets were not only coming from one side now, they were spreading like claws, trying to close the system from all directions. "How long until Titan fleet arrives?" Elias asked. 17 hours, Mira replied, her voice heavy. "If the enemy jumps before them, we fight alone." Cade checked the weapon systems, though they were little more than sparks compared to the storm that was coming. He looked at the dragon through the viewports. "Can it fight again? After that last battle, it looks half broken." The dragon turned its massive head, one eye still glowing deep red, the other now a cold silver. "I do not break as your ships break," it said. "Every battle teaches me, and every scar is a memory of what must be done." It stretched its wings, and for a moment the system's light dimmed as its shadow passed over the ship. "But I will not fight for nothing," it added. "You called me an ally, but do you even know what I am?" Mira dared to ask the question that burned in every mind. "Then tell us, what are you?" The dragon's eyes narrowed. "I am not built by your kind or theirs. I am older. I was made to end wars when no one else could. I was a balance keeper, a destroyer of tyrants, a shield for the weak. But the weak learned to fear me, and the strong tried to own me, so I slept, waiting for a time when my awakening would matter again." Elias clenched his fists. "And now that time has come?" The dragon did not answer. It only lifted its head and stared at the stars where enemy fleets would soon appear. A warning beeped across their consoles. Massive warp signatures blooming on the edge of the system, more than 100 ships already in formation, and more behind them. Myra's face turned pale. "They came sooner than we thought." Elias gave the order to prepare for contact. No speeches, no negotiations, just survival. The enemy broadcast a single message before their guns powered up: "Surrender the weapon and die quickly. Resist, and your home will be ash." Elias did not respond. He simply turned to the dragon. "Can you fight them?" The dragon's chest glowed like a star being born. "I can fight," it said. "But this time, I will not fight alone. Call your fleet, call your people. If you want to survive, stand with me, not behind me." The enemy moved in waves, their first line forming a wall of steel and plasma. The dragon launched first, a blur of red and silver tearing through their front like a spear through paper. Human ships fired from the edges, picking off stragglers, but the real battle was between the ancient beast and the united fleets. Missiles turned to ash before reaching its hide, beams scattered like rain on stone, and when it breathed, ships died in clusters. But the enemy was not foolish. They had learned. They brought fortress ships with shielding grids that absorbed part of the dragon's fury, and they tried to pin it down with gravity wells and time-slowing fields. The battle turned chaotic, space filled with debris and fire, planets shaking from the energy storms above. Cade manned the guns, Mira tracked the flows of the enemy, and Elias sent desperate signals to Titan fleet: "Hurry, we cannot hold forever." Hours passed like seconds. The dragon fought, bled, and roared. It was powerful but not Endless. And for every fleet it broke, two more prepared to jump in from the dark. Last Titan fleet arrived. Massive ships cutting through space like blades, human banners burning bright for the first time in galactic history. They did not ask questions. They opened fire. Human technology was nothing compared to the dragons, but together they formed a pattern, a spear and a shield, a beast and a swarm, and the enemy, for the first time, hesitated. Some ships broke formation, others fled, and the Council's command network began to crack under the weight of resistance. The dragons saw this and spoke into the minds of every human captain present. This is not victory. This is the first breath of a longer war. The galaxy will not forgive what we have done here. They will call you monsters for standing with me. They will bring worlds to ashes to erase you, and when that time comes, you must decide, will you burn with me, or will you turn your guns upon me? Elias felt the chill of that choice, even as his fleet pushed the enemy back. For now, survival was enough. For now, the dragon still fought beside them. But in the depths of its glowing eyes, he saw something else, a shadow, a memory of endless war, and a hunger that was not fully asleep. As the last enemy ships fled, leaving wreckage in their wake, the humans cheered. But the dragon did not. It only stared at the stars, and whispered words none of them understood. This is only the beginning. The galaxy was bleeding but not broken. The Council had lost fleets, allies had fallen, and yet their hatred for humanity and the dragon burned hotter than any star. In secret chambers far from the front, the surviving leaders gathered, their faces lit by cold blue light of a dying star. They no longer spoke of peace. They spoke of erasure. The dragon was more than a weapon. It was a reminder of a time when no empire was safe, a time when a single force could bend the galaxy's fate. And now, because of humans, it walked the stars again. We cannot defeat it with fleets, said a thin reptilian admiral, his scales cracked from age. We tried numbers, traps, shields. It survives. A voice from the shadows replied, then we must not fight it as a fleet fights, we must erase it as a disease. The Council unveiled a device never spoken of outside their deepest archives, a core of black matter wrapped in living code. It was called Oblivion Seed. Not a bomb in the common sense, but a weapon that infected reality itself. It did not simply destroy. It made what it touched forgotten by the universe, erased from memory, from maps, from even the laws of time. If we plant this in the dragon's heart, said the elder, it will be as if it never existed, and the humans with it. The plan was set in motion. A ghost fleet was built from fragments of broken empires, manned by volunteers who were promised no return. They would not fight to win, they would fight to carry the seed close enough to awaken its hunger. Meanwhile, on the edge of the system, Captain Elias and his crew watched the calm after battle. Titan fleet repaired its wounds, new alliances whispered with humanity for the first time in history. And yet there was no joy. The dragon had grown quieter since the fight. It no longer roared. It only watched stars in silence, as if counting them one by one. Dr. Mira approached its massive head. You are healing slowly, she said. The dragon's silver-red eyes turned toward her. I am not built to rest between wars, it replied. The galaxy does not want peace. It wants chains, and it wants those who break them buried. Cade tightened his grip on the railing. You sound like you've seen this before. The dragon's claws scraped the rock below. I have. This is not the first time I rose for the weak and the frightened, and it is not the first time they turned their fear into weapons that could kill even me. The words chilled them, but before anyone could ask more, alarms rang through the fleet. A strange signal had entered the system, one that carried no ships, no mass, only a pulse, like a heartbeat that did not belong here. Mira analyzed it, her face pale. This is not a fleet, she whispered. This is a marker. Someone is coming, and they do not want us to see them. The dragon lifted its wings, the shadows stretching like a storm across the surface. They are trying again, it said. Something worse this time. It launched into space without warning, and the human fleet scrambled to follow. What they found at the edge of the star system made no sense. A ripple in the void, a wound in the stars, as if space itself had been torn open. And through that wound came the ghost fleet. Ships without signatures, painted in the colors of no empire, their hulls cold as ash. They did not open fire. They only moved slowly, forming a wall between the system and the rest of the galaxy. Elias ordered hails. No reply came. The dragon hovered before them, its chest glowing faintly. Do you feel it? It asked. This is no army. This is a carrier for something older than war. And then they saw it, a black sphere, no larger than a frigate, Cradled in a cage of shifting energy, it did not glow, it consumed the light around it. What is that? Cade whispered. The dragon's eyes narrowed. An oblivion seed. I thought they had all been destroyed. Mira turned to Elias, her voice shaking. What does it do? The dragon answered for him. It does not destroy, as you know. It makes things undone. You will not remember this battle if it touches us. You will not remember me. You will wake in a world where this war never began, and your dead will never be mourned because they will never have been. Elias stared at the sphere as the ghost fleet moved closer. Can you stop it? The dragon's chest brightened, energy gathering like a storm. I can try. But to destroy a seed, one must either feed it or carry it far away until it consumes only itself. Mira frowned. Feed it. The dragon looked at her. Yes. Give it something greater than itself, something it cannot consume without breaking apart. The humans exchanged looks. They knew what it meant. The dragon was thinking of sacrifice. But whose? Titan fleet moved into formation, weapons aimed, but their sensors could barely lock onto the ghost fleet. It was like aiming at smoke. The dragon charged first, its claws tearing through the veil of shadows, its roar shaking the void. The ghost ships reacted, not with guns but with traps, gravity nets, temporal shards, and lines of null energy that crawled across the dragon's scales like poison. It tore them apart, but each wound bled not fire, but memory. Pieces of its past flickered into the minds of every human watching, worlds burning, children running, empires kneeling, and finally, betrayal. It had saved before, it had been betrayed before. And it feared this would be no different. Elias shouted for all ships to pull back. We can't destroy it head-on. We need another way. The dragon turned its gaze upon him. Then find one quickly, human. Because that thing was made to erase gods, and I am no god. The oblivion seed pulsed once, and space bent around it like a dying star. The ghost fleet opened its path, letting the sphere drift closer, as if the galaxy itself wanted to end this fight in silence. The humans prepared their last line of defense, knowing that if the seed reached the dragon, it would not only erase their ally but perhaps their entire memory of resistance. And somewhere in the council chambers far away, the leaders watched the feed and whispered, "Let them scream into the void. We will remember nothing, and in that forgetting, we will win." The stars held their breath as the oblivion seed drifted closer to the heart of the human fleet, its black surface swallowing light, its pulse bending space like a slow heartbeat of doom. The ghost fleet encircled it, silent and cold, a wall of death that moved without fear or signal. Captain Elias stood on the bridge of the Titan command ship, his fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. Dr. Mira whispered the readings over and over. Reality itself was collapsing around the sphere. Memories shaking like loose sand in an hourglass. Cade checked the fleet's formation, but even he knew guns could not kill a shadow that ate history. The dragon hovered before them, massive wings spread across the void, its silver-red eyes burning with ancient fury. "They mean to end you by erasing me," it said, its voice rolling like thunder through the fleet's comms. "Without memory, you will kneel again to those who betrayed you." Elias faced the great creature. "Then how do we stop it? Tell me what you are planning." The dragon's scales flickered with ancient runes. "I was born to carry war and to carry its weight. There is only one way to end a seed's hunger. It must be fed something it cannot consume without breaking." Mira stepped forward. "You mean, you..." The dragon did not answer with words. Instead, its massive body began to glow, energy folding inward like a collapsing star. "No!" Elias shouted. "There has to be another way." The dragon turned its gaze upon him, calm and cold. "When your people found me, you woke not a weapon but a promise. I was forgotten not because I failed but because I succeeded, and the galaxy feared what I could become. Now I choose again. I will not let them write you out of existence." The ghost fleet tightened its wall, beams of null energy striking the dragon's flanks, cutting pieces of its essence that drifted away like ash. Memories flashed across the fleet's minds, the first time the dragon had spoken, the battle where it shielded their ships, the moment it chose humanity over all others. Mira gripped the console, tears in her eyes. "If you do this, what will remain of you?" The dragon finally spoke with a strange softness. "Enough to be remembered if you make it so." It surged forward, wings tearing the void, claws slicing through ghost ships like paper, its roar shaking the marrow of every living soul in the system. The oblivion seed pulsed, a wave of black swallowing the dragon's front half, tearing at its wings, dragging it into its hungry core. But the dragon did not fight to escape. It fought to push itself deeper, to lock the seed in its own heart. Cade screamed orders. The human fleet opened fire not to destroy but to shield, buying the creature time. Burning ghost ships in desperate waves. Elias slammed his fist on the console. All ships, full power to engines, push the dragon through. Engines roared, beams tore, shields cracked, but the great war beast moved like a falling star, dragging the seed with it toward the edge of the system where a dying star waited. The dragon opened its wings one last time, turning its head back toward the human fleet. "Remember who gave you the sky," it said, and then it wrapped its body around the oblivion seed and plunged into the star. The explosion was silent. There was no fire, no wave of heat. Just a ripple of absence that passed over every ship. For a moment, nobody knew if they were alive or dead. Then the sensors cleared, and the star that had been dying for millennia now burned bright again, as if reborn. The ghost fleet vanished like smoke in the wind. The seed was gone. The dragon was gone. The humans stood in silence, their hearts heavy, their minds filled with fragments of a voice that no longer echoed. Cade looked at Elias. "Is it over?" Elias stared at the new sun. "No, it left something behind." Mira stepped closer. "What do you mean?" On the edge of the system, where the light was still dim, a shape flickered, a scale, no bigger than a frigate, glowing with faint silver-red lines. It was all that remained of the dragon, and on its surface, a single message burned in ancient script translated by their systems. "I chose you, not because you were strong, but because you could become more than them." Elias ordered the scale retrieved, his voice steady though his hands trembled. "We will not let it be forgotten," he said. The fleets slowly turned back toward Earth, their scars deep, their spirits mixed with sorrow and pride. News spread across the galaxy. The dragon was gone, but its last act had saved an entire species and broken the back of the council that tried to erase them. Many alien worlds, once enemies, now sent messages, not of war, but of uneasy respect. Some called humans tyrants in the making, others called them saviors. But all agreed on one thing. The age of silent oppression was over. Earth rebuilt, Titan fleet grew, but in every new ship there was a mark carved into its hull, a red-silver dragon curling around a star, a reminder of the one who gave them a chance. In dark bars across the rim worlds, whispers began. What if the dragon returns? Some said it would be reborn from its scale. Some said it had never truly died, only moved to another layer of time. And some said it was watching, waiting for the moment when humanity would need it again. But on Earth, in the halls where leaders now walked without fear of the council, Elias kept the scale locked in the heart of a new ship's design. He looked out at the stars and whispered, "We were the forgotten once, now we are the memory that burns." And somewhere, in a place where time did not flow like it should, a faint red eye opened and closed, as if a great beast was sleeping again, waiting for the call of those it once chose to protect.